You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, huge shout out to our sponsors. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. Turn your dream home into a reality with Home Creations, a family-owned and operated builder with over 40 years of trusted experience right here in Oklahoma. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to schedule a showing or visit our website for more details. Home Creations, building homes, shaping futures, strengthening communities. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at Bedford's Camera today with a beautiful setup. Gives me great pleasure. You're making me nervous here.
See, my hands are sweaty.
Gives me great pleasure to introduce my guest today, Ashley Forrest, who is a local artist, very good at what she does, a very creative side. Been on a little bit of an artist kick recently, which is great to see because,
I love that.
Jared Kinley's been on, Jay Sage has been on, Amy was on, but Amy's more of a musician artist type. We're all creatives, but it's fun to dive into the art community. I don't really have much artistic in bones in my body. I appreciate it, but I couldn't tell you anything technical about art other than some of those colors look great together and some don't. But yeah, I'm excited to. It is important. I'm excited to dive into your story. Before we do, though, let's talk a little bit about. You've had some shows recently, right?
I have.
How have they been?
The shows have been great. I've been really lucky.
Yeah.
And I'm just super grateful that Jack Fowler had me on. We had a show January 3rd, and it was my first solo show really ever.
Yeah.
And it was just really nice to have all of my people around me. The creative community came. They really showed up. We sold, I think, like 5 of 8 pieces, which was huge for me. I was like, what? I was just like, if one sells, I'm going to be so excited, And so that was big. And then that was January 3rd. And then February 20th, I had my second solo show at Amshot. So I painted 8 new pieces in 1 month, which I don't recommend. It was just chaos. My living room was full of art. But that show opened. It was great. I've sold a few pieces to just, really, really cool people. I feel really grateful that my collectors are just really amazing people, and they keep buying art.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it feels good. And so JRB, I've got a show coming up on the 7th. and that'll be my first show at JRB. And like JRB is, the gallery. I feel like
Here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, like once you show at JRB, you've kind of arrived, So
Right.
I'm just bringing one piece because like everybody else in that show is super talented, and I'm coming off these other shows, but just really grateful to be a part of that. And a lot of the kids, I don't say the kids, but they put me in this show 35 and under. I'm really 38, so don't tell anybody.
They're kids.
But they are, but like, Ray Stone, they're all people that showed at Forma, and it feels really special to be showing with them now. Like, it's kind of coming full circle. It feels really nice.
That's brilliant. I saw mutual friends of ours got some totes, right? Andy, Ricky, and Boom bought
We're going to order some more totes.
Custom totes, limited numbers. And then I did see Jake Yunker bought a piece too, right?
Oh, Jake's been amazing. Oh my gosh.
He reached out and he's like, we should grab coffee. And
he is so cool. And I think he and I are working on a show now. So I guess he does like these really fill his house with art, and then he invites like these cool people for a dinner, and then he opens it up on Saturday and has like 100+ people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've got another show coming up with Ernesto that's a solo show. So once I get through that, Jake and I are going to make some magic. Great. I don't know if he has a pool, but I'm like, all right, it's looking like a summer show to me, right?
Yeah, definitely. It all happens, right? Get some music, get some good times going, and
I mean,
hope people spend some money, but you got to get them.
And Andy is such a great collector. Like, what a cool person to, she and her husband both bought pieces. She and Daniel are great. So
I think the more you dive into like our like mutual friend group and the people that's in this creative community in Oklahoma City, you quickly realize that like
it's such a small town.
It is, but everyone's there. We got a lot of cool people here.
There's so many great people.
It's awesome.
It really is fun. I'm grateful every day for that.
So going way back, are you just like scribbling, drawing, just making, messes and coloring everything as a kid, or does art come later to you?
Growing up, I used to tell people I was going to be a starving artist, like when I was in elementary school. And I don't know if I got that just because that's such a common phrase, but like I'm going to be, like my best friend and I, it's funny because she's a musician, I'm an artist, and we've been best friends since we were 6. And that's always been kind of like our plan. It kind of got beat out of me as I got older. You get to high school and on post, and you're like, I've got to make a living, and so you don't ever think like I'm going to go do art. That seems ridiculous. So here we are. I think a couple existential crises later, and some gardens and some life knowledge, and you're like, okay, now it's time to. Now I've got something to say.
Yeah. So you've gone through all the experiences that most artists go through, right? But you can draw from it as creative experiences.
I haven't cut my ear off yet, but
not yet.
I'll keep it, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. So do you grow up in Oklahoma City?
I did. We moved here in 1988. My parents met at Louisiana Downs, and that's like a racetrack in Louisiana. And my dad actually got a job here. He was a sports writer. He got a job covering Remington Park when they opened. So it was a lot cooler in 1988, right? There was still some grandeur to the track, and so that was fun. Like we moved here, and I've been here ever since.
With Dad being in kind of the sports writing business, did he kind of want you to be in that space? Did you think, you mentioned your parents met at a racetrack, like, do you want to get into horses? Were you into horses growing up?
Well, so my mom actually trained horses, and that's like when they met at LAD, that was what she was doing. And so I think she always wanted me to live that life. So I did. Of course I rode, We've got the State Fair Arena down here, and that's like every big horse show, especially like in the 90s. Like that was Morgan World, like Arabs, National Show Horses, the reigning championship is still here. Like everybody was coming to Oklahoma City. Yeah. So my mom would just pull me out of school sometimes, and I would just go to all the horse shows with her. But later on, she became an interior designer, and I think while she was going to school, like I was an only child, so I was always helping her mix colors. She was always driving me through these like classic historic neighborhoods and telling me what was so great about that, what's so great about that. And so I think a lot of that kind of shaped who I am.
It's fun to listen, to go back and like think about your story, right? And pull it now, especially into pull, and be like, oh, that's why I do things that way, because of this experience that I had when I was 7 with my mum. Or it's just cool to look back. But you didn't want to get into showing and riding horses or training.
Oh, I did that. I mean, when I was 13, I went to like the world show, you know, and was like top 10 in the world. And then I think, where do you go from there?
Is that the one that's in Ohio?
I was here. So it was the Morgan show.
Okay.
But that was super fun. But I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive. And we were not expensive people.
Right.
Like, it was really everything we had to support that habit. So as I got older, I think I just started worrying about making money. I think the reality of being alive set in. I was like, okay, well,
what were you showing specifically? Like, what kind of
like the Prancy Morgan? It was saddle seat equitation and park.
So English,
like up in the bridle, and not like hunt, but it's like the lesser known. I feel like even in Oklahoma, when I try and tell people what I did, they're like,
because so I know a little bit about it. There's like the English side, right? It's like the jumping and the hunting side, and then there's like the Western side, which is like the horsemanship and reining. And
then there's like a triangle. There's a third side, you know, and it's like up in the bridle and derbies, and like I was a little girl in a 3-piece suit, and like my head was so big they'd have to buy me men's derbies. So it's not a lot has changed. It's fun.
Do you miss it?
I do. I mean, I would love to do that, but again, it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
Like who?
When was the last time you rode a horse?
God, showing my age, probably like, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's been a minute. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should. I bet. Then you worry, like, do I still have it?
It's like riding a bike, right?
I guess it depends on the horse, right? I don't know.
Horses, I wouldn't know, but I would assume it's like riding a bike.
It was fun though, you know, because like I said, I grew up. We didn't have a lot of money, so they'd always put me on the horses that like weren't really broke, but showed a lot of promise. I think that was like the trainer in my mom's eyes. She was like, "Well, this horse is going to be a beast. Like, put her on it." And then like, you know, I get thrown across the arena, and they're like, "Get back on the horse." So there was some something taught there, you know.
With art, then growing up, are you like? Do you remember kind of just? Like, do you have like, you know, drawings and paintings on the fridge growing up? Are you painting and drawing horses? Like what? I mean, take me that time in your life, in your childhood, when you're, you know, traveling around showing horses, but also art is clearly a passion as well.
So my grandmother did a great job of keeping all of my crappy art from my childhood, which bless her, thank God she did that. And a lot of it is really like me and my best friend's clubhouse. We got little drawings of that, you know, but now we live together. So I'm like, we manifested all of this. This was meant to be. Awesome. But yeah, a lot of horses, a lot of just weird rabbits. And I don't know. I was looking back at them at this show, January 3rd. I brought our lure, I was calling it. I was like, well, that's the book of all my crappy art from when I was a kid. Yeah. So I brought it to the show. And, you know, I had some good ideas, I think. But yeah. I'm glad it wasn't like a consistent thing. I think I needed to come back to it.
It works. I mean, you're still doing it, right? You're selling art, which is a great thing. I'm always
amazed when I sell a piece. It's always like, oh, really?
Well, and I think it's, from what I understand, some of the pieces that you have at the moment, they're quite big pieces, right?
Yes.
Like they're statement pieces.
I'm a size
like
queen.
In someone's house, right?
Everybody keeps telling me, like, you should paint smaller. This is such a commitment. I'm like, the physicality, it's just something about a big canvas and like all these possibilities. And from a curator standpoint, you know, because I curated before I ever started painting again, and I just love a big show. I love to like walk in and just be like in somebody's psyche, you know.
Curated like shows, or like what do you mean by that?
Well, you know, like I used to curate art shows at Forma, and so when I was doing that, you know, that was so much fun. But now in my mind, when I'm about to like curate my own show, I'm like, what's going to look good together? Like, how are we going to make this work?
Yeah.
And it's so easy to hang a big show when everything's like 4 feet tall and 5 feet or 4 feet wide. Like, let's go. We can hang that.
Yeah. You're not worried about filling gaps with little pieces and trying to get a bunch of pieces in.
No, it's just, you know, just lining walls.
Tell me about high school, and then before high school ends, your decision, do you go to school and that time in your life?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I was like the weird art kid in high school.
Okay.
And, you know, I pursued other things. I went into like more of a marketing and sales immediately, and I ended up just doing a lot of random jobs, but I feel like I've lived so many lives, you know? But I went into sales pretty early on. I was working for Auto Envy when I was like in my early 20s. Okay. It was like Auto Trader, but Auto Trader was like, we're going to cut the magazine. And these girls that had worked for Auto Trader were like, we're going to pick up that. So they did. And they killed it for like 5 years. It was amazing. They were like, you know, it was really a fun company. They were bonusing us in like Louis Vuitton bags. It was a good time. Advertising to car dealerships.
Okay, cool.
So essentially, yeah, I would like, get dressed up and take some cookies and go try and like talk to the general manager. It was fun.
You and your
I made money.
All girls walking in.
I mean, that was what we did, It was, I think I wore most of like my express like club gear kind of clothes to like go in there. It was ridiculous, but it worked. And they would give me just the most crap territories. I was driving to like Stillwater, or I'd be on 39th Street. Like,
so many dealerships.
I mean, so many. So you're like, you can hit all these. Yeah. And some of the people that have dealerships are still like my very close friends, but it was just a funny.
What time of your life was that? Was that like
that was
during
like
college?
Early 20s.
You'd graduated.
Yeah. And then after that, I went into pharmaceutical sales because that seemed like a natural transition, Like, okay, I'm in sales, so what's like the pinnacle?
Yeah.
I guess real estate would have been a better option, but I started doing that and bought a lot of doctor's lunch. Like, we didn't have the send you to Scottsdale kind of money. Yeah. It was a small local thing. We were trying to get our footing, and anyway, the guy that had started that, one of the doctors, the founders, died, and we realized he had been embezzling like all this money from the company. So, first existential crisis. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to do sales anymore. Yeah. So I went home. I started growing a garden and like reading all this Eastern religion. And Amy and I took like a 6-week road trip of the West. And I was like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. So I read all these books, and it was like a lot of like the Dalai Lama's books really spoke to me, and these things that make us feel intrinsically good, or like doing good things for other people, or So then I started volunteering at the Homeless Alliance all the time. Then I started working at the Homeless Alliance. Then it was 2020, and
So you've been around and seen some things.
I've seen some things. Yeah. I've been around. Yes.
Why did you take to sales? What's in you that just because sales is not something that naturally people like. You've got to have some natural ability at it, and I think when we grew up, we're similar ages, like. The typical salesman wasn't what the typical salesman is today. Yeah. Right? It was more of like in person, knocking on doors, doing this. Whereas now it's like social media and create videos and do that.
Oh yeah, right? It was like, let me go.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine was like traveling salesperson. It still seemed like when I was doing it.
Taking rejection really well. That's not easy to do.
Well, that's why it's so easier to make art now. Because it's like, you don't like it, whatever, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I think a lot of that goes back to growing up with my dad, because he would take me so many places. Like when we went to the track, it was like, you shouldn't take a 7-year-old to the racetrack, right? But we would go there, we would go up to the press box, we would like race and check out the VCRs tapes so we could watch training races. And then we'd go down to the paddock and talk to the jockeys and the trainers. And then he would like take me to the suites, and we always had people around, but he would just always be like walking like you own the place, Yeah. I should not be here. He used to do seminars at the Sleepy Hollow on the east side, and I was younger than 7, and I would sit at the bar. I looked like Shirley Temple. I had my curls back then, and I would order Shirley Temples and just sit there while he would do his seminar. So I think he just kind of exposed me to so many different people, and also just like no fear, like it's fine. Yeah. I mean, I think I was more nervous about coming on this podcast than I have been in a long time. Like, I'll hang my art and be like, well, who cares what they say? Yeah. But talking, ooh.
So sales, I mean, that's not something that's easy to do, but obviously where'd you go to school before that?
So I grew up here. I went to BC North. Okay. My grandfather, like, desperately wants me to go do something with my life. He's like, you can't be an artist. This isn't sustainable, Ashley. I was like, the world's on fire. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I
just sold like 4 out of 5 pieces my last show.
But like, they're still like, I don't think she has a job. I don't know how she's doing it down there.
Yeah. So get into sales. You said you've kind of been pretty self-sufficient on your own, doing your thing.
I haven't.
And then you go and tell me about this like journey across the West. And you go with Amy.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Who'd you go with?
So Amy is my best friend. That's like a big part of my life. Okay. That's like my platonic. Amy Downs. Go to a date with Iris. She's like the best florist in the city. She and Chris Balbon will hook you up. She's amazing. We've been best friends since we were just little kids. Yeah. But she had been working at like Will's Coffee Shop on Western, and had just gotten her job at A Date with Iris, where she still works, and she's like, just her and Chris. And I had left this job, not on purpose, but I had a little bit of money saved, and I was like, we're never gonna have this chance again. And I guess it was like 2014. We packed up the dog. We packed up this Sequoia that was like her mother had given her. That was like the 7-passenger thing that we just, and all of her little brothers, like Eagle Scout stuff. Like we were going to go camp. We didn't know what was going on, but we had like 2 coolers, the dog, like just the whole thing was full.
Taking on the world.
Yeah. And like we would leave and we wouldn't know where we were going to go the next day. We're just like, we'll figure it out. We didn't camp one time. We brought all this stuff to camp and cook and whatever. But luckily we didn't run out of money and we made it back safe. But we saw so many beautiful things. We went to, Durango and up to Yellowstone and then out to the Pacific Northwest and through the redwoods and Pismo Beach and some random places like that.
Yeah.
But the West is just such a great road trip, Anytime anybody's like, do you want to go? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Like the Grand Canyon and like the Moab and Zion. I mean, there's so much cool stuff. Have you done the road trip west?
I've been out there a little bit, not to that extent, but I have seen it, and I need to go back. I need to do what you did. I need to take 6 weeks, take the dogs, jump in an RV, and just bounce.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
No regrets.
No regrets at all.
No, I love that.
Any cool memories from that time, or anything that you brought back with you that you're like, this kind of, it's quite a freeing trip after your kind of, I wouldn't say chaotic sales time, but
I needed that,
go
like
through some crisis. Yeah, and so I'm interested to hear, how you found peace in that next 6 weeks and what it's like being out just in the middle of nowhere with your best friend and a dog and just completely free to the world, thinking, I don't know where I'm going to go now. Tomorrow, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. It's
rare.
You feel so alive when you have no idea not only where you're going the next day, but what am I going back to and what am I going to do with the rest of my life? So, nature makes the best stuff is the biggest takeaway from that. Let's protect our national parks. That's my main point here. But, we had great experience. I think everybody should go away with their best friend for a little bit. Like, that's just... I don't know if there's anything tangible that I really brought back. I know we had a really cool experience. She had a guitar that was made by like this really small boutique in where was it? I don't know. Where was the place with the big Santa Monica? Yeah, I was like a guitar company. Yeah, I was like, we've got their Ferris wheel down here. So we had a really great experience with them. We needed something repaired on her guitar, and she went in, and it ended up like the founder was there, and they were about to do this guided tour, and people had come in from like all over to take this tour. And this was the craziest guitar shop. Like, I'm not a musician, but they had all this different, sustainable wood they were using. So like some of it was like from a shipwreck, and some of it was from like, I don't know, just crazy stuff. And they were so nice. They fixed her guitar for free. They were like the sweetest people. It was so special. So I think that was maybe like the best like memory with people.
Yeah.
But then we had so many great memories with, the land.
Well, yeah, and it has to be done, right? And I think you're right. There was a certain time to do it. Like if you go, most people, if they're fortunate to go do it, but it's a lot harder if you have a wife and kids and 3 dogs at home. But if you just have you and your best friend and a dog, like send it, go for it.
It was so good. I'm so glad we did it. But
did you do any art along the trip, or did you come back? And you mentioned gardening before you that starts after. But did you do anything, or anything pivotal happen during that 6 weeks that really influenced you going into your artwork?
I was doing art, but it was like a lot of kind of graffiti marker kind of art, like canvas board and like things that would not be considered like real art. It was like very like, but it was fun and it got my creativity flowing. And I've always drawn. I've just never taken myself very seriously, and I still don't. Yeah. I'm glad that it's working out, but like technically I'm probably not that good, and I'm glad that I didn't go to art school because I feel like they would have like hammered all this out of me,
I think Jay talked a lot about that too, like that creative side. There's like just you're naturally creative. Like just yes, there are certain things I'm sure that you should be doing or shouldn't be doing, but just if it works, it works, right? I'm sure there's stories like some of the best out there probably never went to school either. And some of the ones that went to school failed, and they're probably accountants somewhere. And so
I feel like you don't want to get.
I don't know enough about the art world to tell you that it's what you do is not good or not, but no, it's to me it looks great.
Oh, thank you. But like in my mind, I hear like my high school teachers had, which Leanne Campbell was amazing. She would always tell me though, like you got to give your picture somewhere to live. It can't just be floating in space, and you can't put a black outline on anything, and you can't do, I know it's egregious. Like some of the things I do, I know has no business in like a serious art conversation, but what is that though? You know, I mean, it's like once you institutionalize the arts, like, yes, there's a benefit to it, but also like, let people do what they want. If it sucks, it sucks, you know?
Well, I mean, what was it? There was someone duct taped a banana to a wall that's
for like 1.6 mil or something. Like, right? It's just crazy.
You know, like, I think what you do is a lot more creative than that.
Thanks. I wish it was as lucrative.
Well, that too, right? So that happens. You come back. You've had the great 6 weeks, great experience. I'm sure you wish you could do that every year. 2014, what's the state of the art market in that time? And then do you decide to go, you mentioned going into volunteering and coming back with this kind of sense of like, I really need to help. Does that happen after? You know,
that did. I think I came home and I didn't know what I was going to do. I still didn't know. And I had never sold a painting at this point. You know, like I wouldn't sell a painting until after Forma closed. Like, Zonley bought my first painting. Which,
did he really?
Yes.
What a hero.
What a great guy. That's
Buffalo blessings.
I mean, such a blessing to me. And then I came back. We'll go back. That's another story. But I came back and who was it? It was Kevin Durant's private chef, Ryan Lopez, I think was his name. And I had met him like socially because I've always been, you know, a social person. And he didn't have a crew to cook for the people because like once a month they bring in a celebrity chef or like a, you know, higher profile chef and they do lunch for the homeless at the day shelter, which is amazing. And I'm so glad I was involved. But he asked me to be part of his crew. So I was like, absolutely. And then Delbert worked in the kitchen and he said, you know, we always need help on Fridays. So I started showing up every Friday. I had to be there at like 5:45, you know, so this is stupid, but I'm happy I'm doing it. And, you know, making all these connections, just, you know, just feeling like you're doing something good. And so then they needed somebody for the Fresh Start art program. So then I was there on Wednesdays, then on Wednesdays and Fridays. And then at some point I started teaching like a yoga class there or something. It was just silly. But then they needed someone to work there. They're like, hey, do you want a job? Like you're here a lot. And I was like, yeah, you know, because I've been very much like, I'm just going to open myself up to the universe. Like whatever happens, we'll just go there. Which is this podcast.
Yeah. Well, like
just say yes.
Just walking through doors that naturally open.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because you never know. And it's a lot easier to close a door behind you that you've already walked through than it is to not even know what's on the other side.
Yes, I'm going to walk through.
Just
we'll figure it out. Yeah.
So Zonley buys your first piece. How long have you known Zonley for, and how does that happen? How does it lead to you even wanting to sell your first piece? Yeah,
you know, Zonley, I was a big fan of his. He had shown some amazing work at Forma, and really, like, Forma was kind of coming to an end. I think this was like February of, was it 21? I don't know, 22. But the last show at Forma, I decided, like, I want to paint something, which I had not painted the entire time. People always ask me, like, you know, like, oh, why don't you show your work? And I was like, it's not very good.
So you just jumped from 2014 to 2021.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I worked at the Homeless Alliance, and then...
How long did you... So you're at the Homeless Alliance for quite a while.
Like 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So
I ended up, like...
Just for people listening.
Being kind of in... I worked at the day shelter. I was the lead intensive advocate, but I advocated for all these homeless people to get, like, their housing. And, like, I mean, it was, like, every day I would show up and put a list out, and there were, you know, 500 people that needed something, and they would come and sign the list, and I would just see as many people as I could every day.
So we get to 20. So Forma is happening alongside all of this.
No, Forma happens in 2020.
Okay.
How silly of us to open a business
Not at all.
in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic. I think our grand opening was like set to be in the middle of like a mayor's 10-day shutdown. So we had to put it over that. It was right after the election. So it was like November of 2020.
At least opening up Forma.
Okay, so day shelter kind of goes to a very limited staff. It was kind of time for me to part ways there. And so I go, and I just started having another existential crisis, walking out at I was walking like 14 miles a day and learning Italian the whole time. And so then, Carter and I started talking about him opening like a second location, which was high-end eyewear. And to me, I was like, oh, this is pretty tone deaf, because there wasn't a doctor. We didn't take insurance, but he was like, you can have a gallery. You know, we can go in and you can have your thing and I can have my thing. So that was so special to me because it shouldn't have worked. You know, it was just the city was so desperate for community, I think, that I really lucked out timing wise. Like business wise, probably not a great time. But I think everything had been shut down and everyone was so isolated and nobody was doing shows, and artists especially, you know, like you have to have that community to survive. And so I lucked out. And I think our first show was Jakayan Parks, who, I mean, he got flown out to Paris by Louis Vuitton a couple of years ago. Like, it really worked out. And he brought in this amazing crowd. You know, we had Cora Waves was our DJ for the first opening. We had, I think, Amber Foster was there. Now she was like the second person to buy a painting. And like, I just met the amazing people at the opening, and it kind of started to snowball. And then the next show, you know, Christian Dixon and Ray Stone, and it just, we got some amazing talent. And I've always been kind of an art fangirl, you know, even if I wasn't in the arts, I always like knew who all the artists were. Like I've always bought local art. And
I remember that. I distinctly remember the photos with Steven. You had the red glasses. You're both in like red glasses.
Oh, Stephen Paul Judd.
Yeah, I remember just that scene.
I love
that
Stephen
photo
Paul
shoot.
Judd.
I don't know who did the photo shoot, but they're great photos.
What a badass.
But yeah, it sounds like 2020, 2021, that period of your life is really where you found your art, like love, and like you've probably found all this inspiration. You're around all these artists thinking, they might be telling you to go for it as well as yourself. Like, I can do this. Yeah.
I had one little marker painting on the wall, and Nick Collison came in and like he wanted to buy it, and I was like, or not Nick? Maybe is he recent?
Basketball player,
but not like he wasn't the OG team.
Yeah, he was OG. Yeah.
Okay, this is not Nick Collison. It was another really tall white guy. I know,
they're all
but
tall.
He was white.
Yeah, okay.
It was 2020.
His name was Nick.
Oh no, maybe not.
Okay.
Sorry.
So there's a basketball player that wants to buy your stuff.
You know, he came in and he took pictures in our glasses, and like he brought some other NBA players in. I should know his name. I'm just really.
You'll leave.
My sports writer dad would be like, Ashley. But what was his name? Oh well.
Can you figure it out? Like,
I would have to like pull up my whole.
Well, we can pause it. Like
can we pause it?
Yeah, let's find this. Yeah, we need to find it. We'll be right back.
Sorry, guys.
We'll need to find out what this is.
Mike Muscala.
Okay.
6'10". It's really tall.
That's tall, dude.
It's a really tall guy.
Yeah. Okay. So Mike Muscala comes in and says, I want to buy your piece.
Yeah, and I was so nervous, and I was like, I don't even know. So.
Did it have a price tag on it?
No.
So you didn't
I didn't sell it to him. I was like,
really?
I got all nervous, and he was like, well, think of a price, and I'll come back. And so he didn't buy it. So I've still never sold a piece of art, right? And I'm like...
Yeah. Are you freaking out
like
at this point?
35
what am
at this
I doing?
point.
Like,
But
why
no,
don't I have a price on my artwork? Like, I should know this stuff. Like, or do you just like, it's fine?
I didn't really care.
Okay.
I mean, it would have been cool to have him be the first, but I think it's like kind of worked out the way it did, you know? So, but I felt honored that he thought it was cool. And it was like one of my, you know, trippier little pin things. It wasn't like these big crazy paintings. So, but that was kind of what brought on Super Tiger. So it was like the last show at Forma. And I hadn't painted in forever. And so I went on Blick Art Supplies, and I got the biggest canvas I could find, which was 16 feet wide, 18 feet wide, and 6 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So super fun. So I affixed it to the wall at Forma.
It's like a garage door for people listening. That's like bigger than a garage door.
It's like a really big garage door.
Yeah.
I mean, 18 feet wide is massive, right? So every tiger was like 6 feet tall, 6 feet wide. And
did you split them up, or did you have it as just one giant piece?
It was one giant piece. And the way it ended up working was I had Clint Shore help me build this frame. So we wrapped it around the walls.
Yeah.
So it was so cool to me. I was like, even if it sucks, it'll still be cool just because like the presentation, like who else like paints something that wraps around the walls and has like the custom frame to go with it. So I paint the tigers, and we have the opening, and I remember like Zonley, I was talking to Cage, and Zonley walks up to me, and he just looks at me, and he's like, what? Like, he's like, this has been in you all along? And I was like, man, I don't know. Like, everybody's got 2 wolves. I think I got like 3 tigers. And
you guys had known each other for a while.
We had known each other. You know, I had always been such a big fan of like so many of these artists. And so for them to see my art for the first time and be like, really? And I was like, I didn't know it was really good. Yeah. So we closed Forma, and I remember Zalney called me, and he was like, I want that piece. Like, I want that piece. And so we did a little trade for part of it, and then, like, he met me in the Hall Springs parking lot with, like, just stacks of hundreds in true Zalney fashion. I was like, gangsta, let's go. You know, it made my day. Yeah. And, made my, whatever, it probably changed the whole trajectory of my life, because he ended up coming to my house with, like, this easel that was, like, this badass easel, and he, like, sets it up, and he's like, you're gonna paint. He brought me, like, a canvas, and he was like, let's go.
Okay.
And really, I think it did, you know, because I was like, okay, well, now I have the tools.
Yeah.
So then I started painting, and I painted one, and Amber Foster, who's this amazing local interior designer, just the best. She owns Throne Design and Wine in Wheeler. We'll plug for her. Mm-hmm. She bought my first piece, and you know, the whole journey has been kind of funny, because if I sell a piece this big, or even just to get canvases, I have to borrow my friend's, like, flower shop van to do anything, because I have, like, this little Audi. And so I go to deliver this piece, and then she sees, like, another piece I'm working on, so she ends up buying, like, the second and third piece that I made.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, so I got Zomley and Amber Foster and Blev, and it just kept going. Like, every time I would paint a piece, you know, by the grace of God, somebody was like, I want it. I'm like, well, this is crazy. But so I was just posting them on Instagram, and now people will meet me, and they're like, you don't have a website, you don't have a LinkedIn, you don't have business cards.
If they want it, they'll figure it out.
I don't, but I'm working on it. I've met some people that are like, we're going to help you with this. So I think that kind of, your community gets bigger, you get more help, and people say you should really be more professional.
Tell me about that, when Zolny comes to the house with all your equipment and the easel and everything and says you're going to paint. Like, tell me about that. Like, do you stop painting immediately that time, and you guys hanging out and he's painting, you know, painting? Or is it like he drops it off and you're like...
So I think there were a few times that I would come to, like, his studio, and he would just be like, throw some paint at the wall, you know, like, because have you ever been to his, it's crazy in there, right? And so it's so fun, but it's like the most freeing experience, because you're not worried about, like, where the paint's going to go. Half the time it doesn't even go that way. Right. So, you know, and then he's teaching me, like, okay, this is how you're going to lay down this, and this is how you're going to do that. And I still hear his voice all the time, like, you should put some water on that brush, your paint would go further, because I'm always just like a big dry brush. Like, I don't know. I'm just like in a frenzy when I start painting, and I'm not, like, thinking, like, okay, where's my painting gonna live? It's like, so, I think that was super freeing. Like, we painted this, we've got a collaboration kind of thing that, like, we did that's these 3 wolves. That's really cool. I'll probably never sell it, but it's just a fun one. It's not, like, really the style I do now at all. Yeah. But it kind of got everything flowing. I was trying to replicate the tigers, and I'm like, that's never going to be something I can replicate. It's like this glitchy, like, tattoo kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about your process. How do you dive into your creative side? Where do you draw inspiration from? And how does that happen?
I think it's different with every painting, kind of. I think sometimes I'll, like, envision kind of a place I want this painting to live, like, not on the canvas, but, like, a room. Yeah. You know, I think my mom being an interior designer later in life, that kind of helped me, like, think, okay, like, I want this to be kind of this sexy Miro, Picasso, whatever, and just, like, elevated, but then sometimes, like, my brain and my old graffiti habits kind of come back, and I just start painting something ridiculous. I don't really know. Like, this last show, I had to paint so fast that I started putting down these big blocks of abstract, like, shape, and then pulling faces out of them, kind of like if you were looking at, like, wood grain, you know, and they'd be like, that kind of looks like that kind of looks like that. So sometimes I think as I progress, I let them come a little more naturally. I don't know if that's good or bad, but when I started, I was so scared to not know exactly where I was going. You know, it was just, I need to know exactly what this is going to look like before I start, like, transferring it onto the canvas. And I think the more comfortable I get, or, like, the more I start coming into my own, like, I'm not that worried about it. Like, somebody offered me like a live painting thing, and I'm like, well, that sounds horrifying, but like, let's go. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Give me a prompt and let me paint some shapes.
I'm thinking of Carlos Barbosa has been on the podcast, and seeing him do his process and where he like he it's like not paint by numbers, but it's drawn amazing, right?
He's in the next show. He's at
go follow Barbosa Art. People listening.
Carlos Barbosa is amazing.
And he does a lot of the great murals around town.
Oh my gosh!
But his is like a map, right? Like it's a process, and it's on, and he looks at his phone, and it's there.
But you walk up, and it's just like this crazy scribbles, and then
he understands it.
He does.
Yeah.
He's like,
are you like that? Would you draw in pencil before? You were just like,
well, sometimes, but no, I'm not like Carlos at all. I wish, but it takes all kinds.
You don't follow his process the same way?
I don't.
Okay.
No. And sometimes I will sketch something small, and then I'll like take a picture of it, because I don't own a laptop. Like, I am not. I'm not a business person, okay?
True creative.
Yes, yeah. People are like, oh, I wish I had that life. It's very frustrating to people around me, I'm sure. Like, every time I would go to the Artini meetings, they'd be like, everybody bring your laptop. I'd be like, I don't have one. I'm just going to be on my phone, going through things. Yeah. I was like, I can pull it up on my phone. It's fine. So a lot of times, if I want to do a sketch, then I'll like take a picture of it. I can project it if I want to get like something proportionately like my characters or whatever. But then once I get those down, I normally just kind of, it just takes a life of its own, if there's something that I really want to be intentional about. But yeah, I'll just start painting my backgrounds the way Zonley taught me. I don't throw paint at my house.
Are a lot of them just kind of what you see, what you want to do, your vision. I'm going to go paint. This is my series. This is maybe the theme. I'm going to go do this for a show or something. But I assume you've had people come to you and be like, "This is my idea. This is my cats. Can you paint something?" Do you do that as well? Do you find it easier to do both, or harder, or easier to do one?
Paint your cats.
No.
I mean, I painted cats, and it was great. I'm so thankful for the experience and the opportunity.
So you have painted somebody's cats.
Okay. It took a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have done that.
Okay.
It was a couple years ago. And
but you prefer to go on your own?
I would not. I would prefer not to ever do a pet portrait again. Not that they weren't great cats. It's just like not my thing.
But people must come to you and be like, I want to get commission it.
Yeah, commission's great.
You to do something.
Commission me, but like just show me the room and like give me a prompt.
Fully trust you to do your thing.
I don't want like Andi was great. She commissioned one for her home and one for her
Dan's office.
Yeah. And Dan's office was like Yes, Rose
Dan.
Rock Financial on Expressway. It's amazing.
Two pieces or one?
So one for home and one for the house, and I kind of did those back to back. But like the one for their house is like their home vibe, and then the one for the office is like a little more restrained. Okay. It's not as wild. But
they came to you and said, do your thing. These are where they're telling you where they're going, so you have some idea. But they're not coming to you being like, paint my cats, or thinking of me and like, I like golf, cars, and real estate, like go paint something.
Like, I don't know. If somebody told me golf, cars, and real estate, I'd be like...
Well, like, what I'm saying is people don't have to... People...
No, I'm like, give me a room and a vibe.
Yeah.
I'll try and do something. But it stresses me out when people are like...
Yeah.
Like...
Gives you constraints.
Yeah. They sent me like 90 pictures of their cats, and it made me so nervous.
Does this person? They obviously like. They're
my friend, and I'm very thankful for them.
I mean, you're over here like ripping them. I'm like, okay.
No, I wasn't. I just said they sent me a lot of pictures of the cat, but it stressed me out so much to like.
No pun intended. Sorry, that was too easy. There is a cat cafe called Don't Stress Me Out Cat Cafe.
Oh, is that the people that have dead people stuff, huh?
Maybe I don't know. I haven't been there. I
think so. You don't like cats?
No.
Are you allergic?
No, I'm just a dog person.
I mean, I'm a dog person too. But
you mentioned kind of creating a vibe. Tell me about the vibe of painting, music. You're in the zone. Like, are we lighting candles? Are we lighting incense? Like, what are we doing when you're in your process of getting in the creative spirit for you? Do you have a thing that you do?
At my home, at my house. Like, I paint in my living room. So, I mean, I do normally like try and clean up the space, like burn some Palo Santo, and like that was another little Zomly thing. Like we'd always kind of bless the canvas.
Yeah.
So I do that still. Like, and for a long time I was hiding buffalo in every painting for Zomly, like
really?
just like as a little homage, you know, like, oh, there's a little shout out to getting me started. But yeah, I think I don't really have a ritual. I mean, good music. And sometimes when I'm painting a painting, like I'll just listen to the same album like on repeat. Like right now, it's like very Talking Heads, which is great. I love that. But you know, there was a piece that I did that was just like the White Lotus season 2, so it was just like that. You know, that's a little intense. I'm sure my dogs were like, "Ma'am, can you just go somewhere else?" But a lot of Italian.
Why Italian? You mentioned learning Italian.
I'm learning Italian. So COVID happened, and I was walking like crazy distances with these women that became fast friends. You know, we didn't have our gym outlet anymore, and
So
they were
you're
kind of
doing laps of the lake.
Yeah, no, I knew them, but they were like friends of friends, you know. And then I put out like, oh my god, I know we're not supposed to congregate, but if I don't get out of my house, I'm just gonna freak out. And
stay
so
6 feet apart and walk.
Yeah, so we were watching like Mitch Park, which took me like 30 minutes to get to Mitch Park, and then you know, I had to walk like. But somebody was like, "Oh, I'm doing Duolingo," so I was like, "I'll download it." But then I just kept doing it. So now I think I'm in like that's my geek thing. Like every morning I have to do my Duolingo, and it's sad because
on a
like
walk as well.
No,
Not
I
anymore.
wish.
Okay.
I do it before the gym, like coffee, Italian. You know, have my morning
Why
routine.
Italian?
Well, so my grandmother came over from Sicily.
Okay.
My dad was just like this big Sicilian guy from Jersey, you know. So I've been trying to learn, and also, you know, I've been looking at some dual citizenship.
Yeah.
So I'm scared though, because it's like, you know, they're like, we can expedite this. It'll only take a year, but send us 10 grand. And I'm like, this is like the mafia. This is just somebody just screwing with me. Like,
I heard something the other day in Italy. I don't know if this is true. People have to fact check me on this, but I heard that they maxed out how much you pay in taxes in Italy at $100,000. So if you're like a multimillionaire and you're paying millions and hundreds of thousands,
well, that's like 100,000 more than our guys are right now.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I heard this on the radio
No
yesterday.
taxes.
It was like, yeah, they went to a max tax model.
I mean, I guess that's what it takes to keep rich people in your country. I'm not much on
that's exactly what it was.
diplomacy,
because of
sounds like we can't afford to tax the rich.
Well, it came up in conversation because more millionaires have left the UK per capita than any other country in the world the last 2 years, because the UK is going down the pan.
Yeah, there's lots of crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Lots of crazy stuff going on.
Have you visited Italy?
I have.
With
I had
family, or
such
did you
an
go
amazing
solo?
time. Actually, I went with Carter, but it was fine.
Yeah.
It was a great time. We spent some time in Cinque Terre and Milan, and up in Como.
Speaking the language?
No, this was before I had started learning,
okay,
so I have not been back to Italy.
So you're obnoxious an American over there being like,
Yeah. I wish I had known. You know, I was like just saying everything wrong.
Yeah.
Just being obviously like
how
very
confident
American.
in your Italian right now?
You know, I don't ever speak Italian with anybody,
you need to
but
find someone.
sto imparando l'italiano per 4 anni. Non sono fluente, ma sto provando.
Pretty good. Sure.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
I've
speak
been learning
Italian,
for
but
3
it sounds
years,
pretty
4
good.
years. I'm not fluent, but I try.
So, I mean, do you see yourself like retirement or spending?
Yes.
Yeah,
that is like the only vision I have of my like. It's like I just want to retire in Italy.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I love my community. Like I want to stay here, but in the back of my mind,
Yeah, you're like in a vineyard or on a side of a mountain.
if they'll give me a villa for whatever,
Yeah.
pay me 30 grand to
It's
manage
not
this.
that much. I'm sure it isn't.
I've got a lot of
People need to move
skills,
to
you know.
Italy.
I feel like I could rebuild this and like we could do it.
Have a gallery in Italy?
Yeah, I mean, I think then I would just be like that.
Why not?
Yeah, it would be cool.
Well, you just
We're
spoken
gonna
into
manifest
existence.
this.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Take me to now. Since then, you obviously you talk about having
Take
your
it
start,
now.
doing your paintings, having a lot more friends around you give you confidence and diving into it and selling art. How has that transformed over the last 3 years to now? Like you're doing shows now and you're selling out, and you're not selling out, but you're
But almost, it seems close. It's good.
and you're doing huge pieces, and I don't see my limited view of the art world. I don't see people do the same artwork as you very often.
Thank you.
Like I don't. Like there are some others you're like, oh, I know what that is, and I know I've seen this before, blah, blah, and like people throw paint on the wall, whatever. But it's very distinctive.
Thank you. I love that because I feel like a lot of people tell me that. Like even though you do different things, like we still know it's yours.
Yeah. How do we get to here from the last few years?
How do we get to here? Gosh, by the grace of God, I don't even know how we got here. I just kept making art. I was very isolated, and I just painted and spent a lot of time kind of rediscovering myself and like recentering, and like I said, in another what am I going to do with my life? And not really thinking art was going to solve any of my problems, just painting because it was cathartic and because some of my friends liked it, and I thought that was cool. And then I just wanted to have art for the house. But then every time I would paint something, somebody would buy it. And I was like, well, this is amazing. But it's just kind of snowballed into something. And I think I was lucky that I supported so many amazing people in the arts when I wasn't an artist, that now there's like just open arms and everyone's been so warm to me, which I'm sure, like just the way I created space at Forma, I know that it's not always easy to navigate galleries. It's not always easy to break into the art world. Like there's so many little cliques in our city. And I think I've always just been kind of delusional enough to just like walk into all those rooms and just be like, yeah, it's fine. I'm just go talk to everybody.
Sales, right?
Yeah.
Back to just going in and figuring it out. And like if someone says no, then they say no.
They say no. But I actually didn't apply for any of the shows that I've really been in. I was asked, which feels great. Yeah. That feels great. Like, let's give you a solo show. I'm really excited about this one coming up at the end of May. Ernesto Sanchez, who was with the OKC Museum of Art for like 21 years. Do you know Ernesto? Such a cool guy. Yeah. Lynn Sanchez is his wife. She has a space in Paseo, Su Casa, and then he has a place called Studio Sanchez that he hasn't actually had any showings at, but like he is such a cool guy, and he has the space. And before Paseo Art Walk last year, he bought a piece. It was like I had just gotten back from LA, and I did this like Getty Villa Stolen Antiquities kind of series, and he grabbed one up, and he was actually doing the art for the opera. They were having an opera, and his art was like on these big screens. Like, I mean, just a very cool guy. Yeah. Like he and his wife are just the coolest people. So he brought me over to his house, and Lynn like made tea, and they showed me this art tour. It took like 2 hours to go through the art just at their home. Mm-hmm. The most insane collection, and telling me these beautiful stories. And it was like people that had exhibited and like fallen in love with Ernesto and given him like these little trinkets. And it's just, and you just really tell. And so then he took me to Studio Sanchez, and he's walking me through his work and some artists he had that wasn't really showing, but like maybe just had some of their stuff there. And then he was working on a show for JRB. And he was also working on this thing for the opera. And so just him walking there, you could just tell how much all of this means to him. So like by the end of it, he's explaining this collection called Portals, which is like the sculpture that he made as kind of like a way to talk to his son that had passed. And like, we're just in tears, and then he's like, next year, like start painting, it's yours. So I haven't actually started any of those paintings because like I've been keeping all these really beautiful thoughts for that show. So I think that one's going to be really good. I'm going to take a little more time than I did on the last one, and it's going to kind of be the first show he has at his place, I think. And I mean, he's had it for some years, so I think that'll be special. And just what a cool person to collaborate with. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. I'm really honored that.
And that's in May?
Yeah, that'll be, I think May 24th is going to be our date.
Okay. Not meaning to get like super deep, but like on a more like personal level. And art, you mentioned art can be kind of very therapeutic, and I think you said the word cathartic. Like, it's a safe place for a lot of people. A lot of people kind of, even if they don't sell their artwork, it's a good mental thing for them to do. It's great for the older generation to keep their hands moving and brain cognition, all that stuff. Even if you never sold art for the rest of your life, like I would assume there's things that you keep doing because it fosters creativity and keeps you happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you say, you've been through some crisis in your life.
Yeah.
Up and down.
I mean, I'm always just like, why am I here? What am I doing with my life? Like, what matters,
But art has always been there.
Art's always been there, community, and like being a steward of the land, and like just, that's all the important things to me.
So, I mean.
But I'll probably paint. Even if I am homeless, I would just like paint bigger and one color probably. Right. Like, I don't know.
I'm just interested to kind of like from your perspective, just hear like I've asked this question a few times to different people and mostly athletes, but if you could write a letter to art, what would you say?
Thank you.
Just thank you?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it saved my life.
Yeah.
In so many ways, yeah.
It's special, right?
It is.
It's
it
amazing
really
how simple art is.
It's really special.
Like, art is... I'm a golfer, right? I relate to just walking around the golf course, being solo out there, and just being on my own, in my own head, happy. And with my thoughts and playing golf, and it's very freeing.
Yeah.
Putting that in your world, art seems like the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you're in it and you're just like, damn. Sometimes it's so fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really like just brushing,
you know? For you, right, on the canvas.
Yeah. But sometimes like sitting with those things that you're thinking about when you're painting, like is really kind of can be gut wrenching, It can be very isolating. So sometimes I'm happy when it's spring and summer and like I've got more things to do outside, because sitting at your house by yourself and like painting, like even when you're really satisfied with the way everything turns out, it's still not fun sometimes. Like it's not like every day you wake up and you're like, oh yeah, I get to do this. Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, you better paint something, like I have a whole thing of sketches, and it's just like, you better paint, bitch. That's like my prompt on my phone. So I don't know. I think I have to kick myself sometimes, because it is hard, like, to make yourself be creative every day. And I think you get so inspired by community and art, or, nature and other people's art. You have to be out in the world. So for those couple months when it's just like snowy and like my other things I do shut down, it's just, it's hard. It's isolating.
Do you do anything like every day in creating, like whether it's just having a notepad or drawing, or just, maybe it's not always a canvas when you're painting, but in what other ways are you creative?
Lauren Kelly, another talented artist that's going to be in the show, she told me, like, even on the days you don't feel like painting, like being like creative, you still will like paint a canvas or do the edges or do something to put you in a better position, so that when you wake up and you are ready, then you're ready. Like, okay, my canvas is prepped, like the sides are painted. Like sometimes I'll spend a whole day like just putting D-rings on the back of stuff, because I'm like, when I'm ready. But I'm not in that mindset. And I think the older I get, like the more I realize, like if I wake up and I'm excited about doing one thing and I have the freedom to just do what I'm excited about, like take advantage. So I don't try and be too hard on myself on the days that I don't paint, because I know like the next day I might paint for like 10 hours straight, But if you're not feeling it, like you don't really do anything good for the painting, if you're putting weird energy out, like you can't force it.
Well, and the older we get, I guess the more we understand ourselves, but also the less we probably stress a little bit about like getting stuff done, right?
Yeah.
Like what you just said, like if you're not feeling it, then it's okay to not do anything, not create anything today, because sometimes creating something makes it worse.
Yeah. If it's just going to give me anxiety, like you have to give yourself grace and just say, you know what? Tomorrow will be a better day. Like today I should do my laundry and do this and do that and do these things that kind of clear my mind and make it more comfortable to spend a day painting. But there's a time and a place for everything, right?
100%. Yes, there is. To that point, time and a place for everything. It's probably you don't strike me at all as someone who likes to plan at all, right? Like you just like, how do I end up here?
I
just
got plans.
Let things going. But I say that to, there has to be some form of North Star for all of us. Is there anything that comes to mind for you that's just like, this is my North Star, other than retiring in Italy? I
mean, I would really like to have another gallery. I would really like to have a place to do that, because that's really like, I feel like more of my calling than painting even is, But I think I envision something where like there's like all these kind of what they're doing at Canopy, but, just a bunch of kick-ass artists in the same space. And then maybe we help each other do group shows and just keep building the community and making space for people, because that's, and then if I'm just being like personal, egotistical, and I want to be at Basel, like I want a booth, let's go. I would, I don't know. Everything that happens is kind of surreal to me at this point. So it's like, that seems so lofty and cool, but like, yes, I would love to do that. Maybe, the Paseo crew or the Plaza crew will let me go to Wynnywood with them or something, let's go graffiti some stuff. But.
Sounds like you really like to host.
I do like to
have
host.
The community in your space, and there's part of you that's like, I just love bringing, because some people listening would be like, the last thing I want to do is host 30 people here.
Man.
It sounds like you really enjoy it.
That's really
together.
It is. It's so good. And just so many cool people came through Forma. Like, we had such a great vibe and all these curated group shows. And I do miss that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to not host, but I feel like that's kind of my best thing I do.
One thing I want to talk about that's very kind of apparent on your Instagram. I know you said you don't really do that much on Instagram, but we've got to talk a little bit about your style, your fashion, your aesthetic, for you personally. A lot of long coats and long boots.
Lots of boots, lots of coats.
A lot of colors.
I love color.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of wore my
Today is a little toned down. I did expect you to come in white knee-high boots and a big blue fur coat, but it's okay. Next time.
I was like, this is kind of my video game. Like, if I was just my avatar, like, this is what I would wear all the time. But I do love it. I love a fashion.
Where does that come from?
I love color, and I like doing things that are unexpected, and I love vintage, and I love... Honestly, when I was at the Homeless Alliance, I would see people with, very little resources do things that were so interesting and so creative. And like, we had Mime Jordan. He was amazing. I miss him. But I would see him make like a weave out of a mop, and it would be amazing. So it's like, it's not always about resources. Like, you can, it is, but it isn't. Like, I don't ever really shop off the rack anymore like I used to.
Yeah.
I like being unexpected and putting together fun things. And gosh, vintage clothes were just really made so much better, and fast fashion is such a problem. So I'm wearing like a Target shirt right now,
do you create a lot of your own pieces, or are you going in like kind of
I just
and
go to
being creative that way?
Vintage places and Goodwill and whatever. It doesn't have to be like a fancy curated thing. Like, I'll hit the bins.
Yeah,
I don't have any shame. Like, let's go. But and I think being around Amber Foster and Jakayan and these like just really cool kids, like I definitely made my fashion better, because it's like you just have to find that line of like, as long as it works, and
on that freedom to go try something, right? To go do something. It's a little, but also I think the other thing too about just our mutual friend group is that you have it's when you're in that group and people are being bold, and you talk about Andi's style is, I don't know anyone like that dresses the way that she does, right? Because
she can wear
different.
Like a Kitten Hill and a trucker hat, and you're just like, yes.
And she always steals Daniel's hats, which I always give her
She's
crap
such a badass.
And you talk about Jakayan and the cowboy side of things and what he's done, right? And then your style, and there's so many of us that it gives. I'm always in jeans and a t-shirt. Like, generally a black t-shirt and jeans is just how I like to live my life.
It's easy.
But there are occasions where I'm like, I'm gonna like just, why not? I'm around like a good group of people. Like, it's something about that core group of people that like gives you confidence and gives you the willingness to just be like, I'm gonna throw on that coat.
We're always amping each other up,
yeah.
And it's so important to have that community around you that's just like, do that harder. That's crazy. I love it. Go again. I feel like we all always pump each other up. There's not that snide.
No,
nobody's ever like poo-pooing on anything anyone's doing. They were just like, be your most authentic self. Like, show up as weird and as hard as you want to show up, and it's accepted, which I think, in my 20s, like, that was so scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I just didn't want people to like really look at me. It was just like, let me just be like everybody else, and then you get older and you're just like, oh gosh, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna be exactly, as crazy as I want to be, or as true to myself.
That too, right? Because you feel good, and and again, like if you're at Vintage or you're going to Goodwill, I mean, I love jackets and coats, and I have more coats probably than and I never really get to wear them at all, other than when it's freezing cold, and no one goes outside when it's freezing cold, so I'm just going to get to them. But coats is my thing personally. But when you talk about other clothes and other people and other, we're all there's inspiration everywhere, and our phones are endlessly putting us in, looking at things. It's so easy to find inspiration all over. My question related to inspiration, is there anything right now that you're really kind of drawn to? Any kind of type of music, any type of artwork, any type of stuff that's really kind of piquing your interest at the moment, this present moment in time?
I've been turned on to some Spanish surrealist women that were kind of contemporaries of Dolly, that like Leonora Carrington, and there's a few others that like we haven't really heard of that are so interesting to me. My friend who's like a CPA that I work out with at the gym came back from Spain, and she went with like her artist friends, and they turned around to all these Spanish surrealists, and that's been really fun for me. I mean, just really trippy stuff, but like super talented women that I never heard of, and now I'm like, oh, I love this. I'm so into this. And then I think for JRB, I tried to tone it down a little bit, but not really. I tried to make it a little more Miro or something, but it was still like a 3-headed bull, so I don't know if I did really good, but I don't know. I think you just find inspiration everywhere. Like people think that it's inspired by one thing, but I have so much inspiration locally, like D.G. Smalling and Polly and Denise Duong, and just like so many. I can look at my painting and be like, well, that reminds me of D.G. Smalling. People ask me if it's a continuous line, and I'm like, no, but tell DG it is.
Yeah, he's a friend. He's got some special things going on, and Kelly's great too.
Oh, I know. So happy for them.
Do you name your paintings?
I do, and most all of them afterwards, and most often it's something palatable, so I don't have to tell people what the painting is really about.
Is there a hidden meaning in a lot of them, just for you personally? Yeah,
we just don't talk about it. Okay. Because, I'll try and talk about it. People want to know, but I feel like I kind of talk myself out of sales sometimes. People really probably want to know what that's about. But, being said, everything now is going to be made,
So you name it after, not before? Because before, in your head, it's something completely different.
I'm always kind of walking through... I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what I'm going to learn. I don't know what I'm going to be thinking about. And sometimes at the end of it, I'll kind of know what it's about, but I'm like, oh, it's probably too weird to speak aloud. So I'll just throw a song title on it or something. Because I just don't want to.
People are learning all the people. Everyone's listening to this is coming up to you and I'll be like, what's this one really about?
What's it really about?
Because when someone looks at a piece of art, I bought, I was never been, and I wouldn't say I'm a collector yet, but I have a D.G. Smalling piece in my house, and it just came at a really kind of pivotal time for me, and I never understood what people buy art until I bought my first piece, and I met him in his building, and he came down out of the elevator, and I saw it, and I remember that feeling when I saw it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's why people collect. Yeah. Right? That's that kind of raw feeling of oh no, this means something, and that was kind of more of a commission for me to get him what he did. It was very personal, and I totally understood it in that moment, and so I get it now. But there are people out there that just and they just buy and collect, and they see, and sometimes they trade, whatever. There's that side of it too. But for me, that was the first time I'm like, oh, now I understand. Now I understand art, right? Because and maybe it's not just the commission side, but somebody looks at your piece and it speaks to them completely different to what you're telling.
Exactly.
That's why
so
you don't
let
want
me
to tell
step
them.
away. I don't even want to tell you what this is about.
You don't want to ruin that moment for them.
Yeah. So
right?
Ray Stone is really smart. She says, none of my pieces are narratives.
Yeah.
These are all just you and experience it as you will. And so I feel like I need to get better about that.
Yeah.
There's a picture of Picasso with a gun, and he used to just walk around with a gun. Anybody that asked him what his work was about, he'd be like, no. I'm way too hostile. I'm not famous enough for that, but it would be legal in the state. No, I can't point it at anybody, but I can have it on my hip. But David Lynch is expand on that. No, it's weird. I love telling people about other people's art. I love it when an artist has a story to tell me, like as a curator or like as a gallerist, to go and say, oh, this is what this meant for them. And I can tell other people's stories all day, but when it comes to your own, you're like, all my thoughts just get jumbled up. It's like a math problem. I'm like, how can I say this in a way that will make you still want to buy it? I lose all my sales skills, which is ridiculous. But I'm just like, oh, let's talk about this. But
is that because like, is that like a self thing, like a self-discovery type thing, or you just don't feel comfortable talking about it as far as like losing
I think I'm
your sales
trying to
skills
get
not
better about it.
It's not an easy thing to do.
It's
to open
not.
up the toolbox and be like, this is who I am. It's on that canvas.
Yeah.
And this is exactly like back to being therapy and having our personal moments painting. Like some of those things are best kept to yourself, right?
Yeah, it's kind of inviting people into your therapy session.
Yeah.
We're just like, just let me be the girl in the weird coat, okay? Like, let's just not talk about it. It's fine. Do you like it? Is it a vibe? Can we hang it on your wall? Let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're all kind of teaching things for me. Some of them are a lot more lighthearted than others.
Yeah.
It just depends on which one. But
I don't think people are going to listen to this and think that you're having a crisis every single time you paint. Oh, well, like they're not.
It's
I promise.
2025. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. They've been collected, and it's not like a crisis. Like I'm like in a ball. I'm just like by myself, growing a garden, paying attention to nature, reading, and like trying to get back in tune with myself. But I think that is like a lot of people never slow down enough to think about why we're here and what we're doing. And it's like we get so busy and we fill our schedules, and you just know like this is what I'm doing every day, and you don't really have time to think. So I think to not have the family aspect and still have all this freedom, there is a lot of time that I just sit here and I think, and a lot of that gets transmuted onto the page. So I don't know.
We could dive into that. We're not going to, but we could dive way into that.
I don't have anything to say about it anyway.
That's probably for another time. Bringing this one home, last question, because I'm in the real estate world and people listening will know that what this question is. If you were to build your dream home today, what is your dream home? And what does that look like? As of today, because it might change tomorrow. But if someone came to you and said, you get unlimited budget, you get to build your dream home.
Okay. I mean, I think Lee Morgan already did it. And that house in Sosa, it's just right on the corner by those funky apartments.
There's a few there.
Yeah, there's a few in Sosa, right? But it's got this great landscaping. It's like a corner lot, and it's just this big, beautiful. I love Sosa, but I mean,
Do you know Brett and Michelle that live over there?
Last name?
Who own Midtown Order House?
Oh, yeah, Nelson.
They're great. Yeah, they live over there, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're cool. They're great art collectors that don't have a piece yet.
Yeah. He keeps buying Porsches, that's why.
Hey!
Yeah. So, tell me about that. Explain it.
I just...
Non-negotiables. What's in the house? What do you need?
Non-negotiables. Okay. This is hard. I should have really... This is like you always end with this one, and I listened to... Okay.
Not always. It's more of a recent thing. It's a 2025 thing.
Okay, so scratch Sosa. I would really like to have a studio. I would really like to have a garden. I do love mid-century. Like, I live in a mid-century kind of ranch right now, and I really love that. Like, I don't know, but it has to be, okay, I can know what it doesn't have.
Yeah.
It doesn't have subway tile. It doesn't have a floating island. It doesn't have an open floor plan. It's, kind of old and weird, kind of like me. I'm not big on the trends, so I like the quirky, weird things. My friends have a airplane bungalow in Putnam Heights with this huge garden and a greenhouse, and honestly, their house might be my dream house but some of the doors don't close right, so it's old houses are cool. Okay. I don't think I answered any of those questions. I'm so sorry.
I know what you like and what you don't like. We'll figure it out.
I'm sorry.
It could change tomorrow too, which is the beauty of it.
Will.
But the constant thing that you talked about is that there would be a garden. And so let's finish with that. What's your gardening journey been like? And because having a garden in Oklahoma is impossible with the weather.
It's seasonal, which is nice.
Sometimes.
It's funny because one of my good friends actually owns Brooks Garden Exchange, and so I have been doing landscape design for him. And so I have been designing these great little butterfly gardens and different gardens in Crown Heights and Putnam Heights and Heritage, and it's been really fun. I will drive by houses and be like, I designed that, and that's super fun. But something about being outside and like slowing down enough to pay attention to, especially when you're gardening, like with doing a food garden, I feel like you notice every little pest, everything. So now I just do flowers, so you don't have to like care that much because I don't want to put any pesticides out there. But I think everyone should have a garden. I think that there's just the chemicals that release in my brain when I wake up in the morning and I go out there and my garden's so beautiful and like the sun's coming up and I have my coffee and I read my Mary Oliver and it's like worship for me. I just feel like this is, whatever happens after this is going to be okay.
Okay. Where do people find you? You don't have a website. I don't have a website,
but Victor said he's going to get me one, so that's going to be great. Instagram @_Ashley_Forrest, because that's my name. 2 R's, like Forrest Gump. Ashley Forrest. ASHLEY FORREST.
You have a show. The big show is going to be in May.
I have a show that is a big group show on Friday with just Carlos and some amazing artists. I'm so grateful. And then, May 24th, I'm just going to solidify that. Sorry, Ernesto. I hope it's that day. We're going to do a big show at his place, and it's going to be his first show, and I'm just really, really grateful that he asked me to be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing some stories.
Thank you.
Thanks for being vulnerable and telling personal stories and not diving too much into it, but diving into it. I appreciate it. And people listening definitely appreciate it. So people listening, I'll put Ashley's Instagram down in the description down below. Go give her a follow and go buy a piece and support local artists. As everybody that she mentioned is also a rock star too. So thanks for listening. I'll catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates @OklahomaHOF. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram @DiffieFordLincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedoghouseokc.com and follow them on Instagram @thedoghouseokc. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. Turn your dream home into a reality with Home Creations, a family-owned and operated builder with over 40 years of trusted experience right here in Oklahoma. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to schedule a showing or visit our website for more details. Home Creations, building homes, shaping futures, strengthening communities.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.